Today, our podcast is about the data services, the future of data services that Maveric has to offer. So, welcome again, and I'm going to be your host, Sinjini from the marketing team. Let me take this opportunity to welcome our leader and our expert, Srini, who has been in the industry for over 25 years. He's been one of the leaders in the data analytics space and obviously has a lot of information and understanding not just about the industry from the trends and the market point of view, but also from what customers are really talking about, what they want. So there is a lot to learn from him. His career path has also been in this field for a very long time, and he has been leading this for multiple geographies and across multiple industries also. So let's just welcome Srini. You might be knowing Srini as Srinivasan Rengarajan. If you've not seen his profile yet, please go to our website and you'll be able to read about him a lot more in detail. So welcome Srini. Welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, engineer. Really looking forward for the next maybe 25-30 minutes to go ahead from us.
To begin with, Srini, why don't you just give us a little brief about where your journey started and what have you been doing in this space?
I've been in this industry for close to about 25 plus years, and maybe I'm one of those fortunate ones who really started off with data at the beginning of my career after I completed my specialization in statistics, right? That's what I really graduated from. And I've been pretty much working around the data. While I have seen many flavors of data, what has really happened is with the event of new tools and technologies, maybe more computing power, the way we are really looking at data has changed. It was quite fascinating, when I really started off maybe about 26, 27 years back on data, we used to collate, manually collected data, right? That's the kind of data collation and data assimilation used to happen maybe 2 to 3 decades back. But right now we are talking about like a live feed, and maybe people are commenting and people are viewing. So that's the kind of liveness of data that we are living in. And while this has transformed the way we have started utilizing data, customers have started utilizing data for doing more and more real time analysis. Gone are the days when a particular sale or a business transaction has happened, and we as a customer would know about it after weeks, because that's when the data is available, to on the jiffy, on the rail, on the fly right now that we exist in. So that's the journey that I would summarize, how data has evolved. And of course data has always been the crucial part here.
So this is actually a segue to my next question. For the 10 years probably now, I've been hearing that data is a new oil, and I'm still hearing about it. So how is it that, in this fast-paced technology, how things are upgrading every now and then, data never seems to be out of fashion. It is still fueling industries and businesses and the decisions that we are making. So, can you just give us a little bit context to the background of this?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting, right? When we speak about data as a fuel, the objective of the fuel is to keep the lamp lit always, right? So that's the role what really data plays, to really look at your own anecdote about data being as a fuel, right? As I mentioned, with the journey of data is going to be more and more essential. And with the advent of new technologies like, say, Gen AI and LLMs and all the buzzwords that we keep hearing, what is happening is the power to understand data has really significantly improvised now, right? Which means that the old sayings, if you have also heard this saying, garbage in, garbage out, makes more and more sense in today's era, right? Which also means that data has to be updated, data has to be available in the right shape, in the right form, in the right velocity, so that it can be easily analyzed. And these computing powers and the new age models can really start deciphering from it. So more than fuel, it's going to be like a lifeline, is what I would like to say.
So, can you tell us that, what are we doing in this space? What are we offering to our customers today in data and analytics? and where we are going on this?
So yeah, Maverick has been, I think, working around the data stream for a significantly a large amount of time, providing data services to our customers. The way we have really summarized our data offering is largely into the data services bucket, where we talk about data and analytics as a whole. Now, when we really look at data, there are multiple aspects, right? So right from the whole data management activities related to data ingestion, data preparation, data transformation, and getting data into a suitable form which can be then used for analysis. Now, we cannot add multiple dimensions to this where we really talk about modernization from, say, on prem to on cloud. There's a lot of data systems that exist on cloud, migrations from legacy platforms to new gen platforms. So the data services that we are really catering about really looks at all of these from an end to end. So I like to call it as an end to end data service provider or data services offering, where we are just looking at acquiring the data, processing, preparing, keeping it ready, and then finally deriving insights from the data, which is in the terms of maybe like a report, maybe like dashboards, finally consuming this for the end business. Now, one critical thing everybody's thinking about, like, hey, you know what, while we are doing all this, what is the core aspect of how do we really validate the data, right? So looking at data quality, data governance, data lineage, now these are the supporting functions to ensure that when we are really looking at from a source to a destination or from the base data to the prepared data, these are all the additional services which go hand in hand to ensure that the data is available in the right form. So, really looking at it right from the source till the target, right from the base level of data to the prepared and the optimized level of data that can be consumed by any of these new gen models or any of the front end presentation layers. That's where our data services play really comes in. So I would just like to summarize it as an end-to-end data service provider.
Can you also tell us a little bit about how the technology landscape is changing with respect to data and analytics, and what are we seeing today? What are the trends like?
The whole segue about consumption of data, right? While data is available, data was available since a very long time, but then the ability to consume the data in a more refined manner to use it for a more meaningful insight purpose is where we are living right now. And if we really look at a lot of trends around all these LLMs and Gen AI, the power of data or the criticality of data is getting more and more improvised, right? If we are really looking at training large language models, without the right level of data, without the availability of the right level of parameters of data, the models could have not been trained. We had legacy models like the BERT models, which had been trained on a significantly large volumes of data, but then again, it really depends upon the quality of data and the power of data that we can see today. With that said, if you want to also extend to the recent trends about more domain focused models, right? So that the moment we are really looking at domain focused models, the power of data again becomes very critical. So what is going to happen is that there is going to be no AI without data, right? So data forms the crucial foundation layer for AI. But at the same time, working with the data becomes very critical because you have all heard about challenges with all these new models where we're really looking at, say, bias in the data, hallucinations being deciphered in the models. What happens is that, while these are some of the challenges that happens with the new gen models, it's very important that the data is prepared in the right way. Models are being trained on the right level of synthetic data, exceptions are identified. So what is going to happen is that the trend of data becoming a core service platform or a core service element is always going to evolve more and more as we go up the ladder in terms of consumption of data from insights. The foundation layer is going to become more stronger and stronger and critical. So there's a lot of emphasis, there's a lot of money being spent, like, even if we really look at large banks or large enterprises, right from financial services to other industries, they are all now focusing around strengthening their data layer, emphasizing more and more and on the data layer itself, so that the right data is available where all the new gen models and applications can be used for consuming these data.
So, how do you think our customers are actually consuming data and analytics? What are they actually doing? I mean, while the trends are already there, how much of it are they actually consuming? And especially if you could customize it to the banking and financial sector.
Yeah, so it's a nice segue there when we really look at financial services as an industry, right? What is happening is, I think, in maybe like the last 6 to 7 or 8 months of conversations with different CXOs at different level of our financial services footprint, what I have always, discovered in conversing with them is that a lot of money or budgeting is really going on to the data related projects, while the top layer is always around AI and how machine learning models or analysis or analytics can be performed. There's a significant emphasis on getting the right level of data ready, and a significantly large portion, I would say maybe 60 to 65% of the budgets and the investments are going around data engineering, data management, data manipulation projects, and the rest of the budget gets streamlined around consumption of these data sets, maybe working around, Gen AI kind of a prototyping or going live with some of these Gen AI models, and finally going to the market in terms of the front end. How are they exposing some of these agents and recommendations directly back to the end users? Now, when we really look at the kind of investment that I spoke about, when it really talks about 65 to 70 or 65 to 70%, it's also very important to look at how and what constitutes to this, right? So while data preparation, data availability is one, data governance and data lineage is also something that is a significantly large spend area. The reason being that when we all are getting exposed to LLMs giving us queries, how do you really explain that? Is it the right response? Let's take a customer scenario. A customer calls up a bank and says, I want to increase my credit line, and the model says, or the agent which is running under model says, no, I will not increase the credit line, or you're not eligible. The question is, of course, going to be like, why, right? Is the decision taken in an informed way? I mean, the customer could always go and sue the bank saying, why did you do this, or this was incorrect. So the governance of data, the explainability of why the agent has given this information, negative, positive, acceptance, whatever there is a consequences of a decision that is taken, how can it be really traced back, and how can it be explained when there is a question that comes from the end user, right? So that's where the emphasis is really really large. And again, this is not an easy task. The dynamics of business keeps changing, the model keeps changing, and that's always been in the case, right? You train a model, you build a data layer, and then we see that there's a change in the market. Maybe government changes some policies, you have to adapt, the consumer's behavior changes, the way we really look at banking changes maybe. So with respect to all of these, adapting, refueling the data layer and keeping it in the right way, in the right format to be analyzed and consumed is always going to be a mammoth of tasks and a significant spend area for our customers as well.
So, Srini, just going back to the point that you made on data being the layer for AI, we are also hearing about AI-led data, right? So, can you just explain a little bit about what is the difference between data for AI versus AI-led data?
When we really talk about both, right, data for AI and AI-led data, there's a huge difference between them, right? Now, when we are applying data or AI models and coming out with inferences and insights and business outcomes, that is when data is the underlying layer which is consumed, and the outcomes of the model is really taking in terms of business insights and decisions, right? Now, when we really look at AI for data or data for AI the other way around, right? what is happening is how can we use AI for enhancing the data? Like, say, for example, classification of data assets. Traditionally, we would have done it in a manual way or writing certain set of scripts. Now, how can we use AI or machine learning to do that in a better way? How can we do a summarization of data in a better way so that the aspects or the time that really goes into governing data, preparing data, modernizing the data infrastructure can be done a little bit more automated or a little bit more faster using AI, right? It's just a comparison between we can do it in the traditional way, but AI can make a tad bit more difference and make it in a more sophisticatedly smart way. So that's the difference between data being a foundation for AI and how AI can actually help in turn enhance the data.
Can you tell us, what are we as an organization doing to upskill them, upgrade them, and give them some opportunities in this area?
Well, I'm sure that I think maybe listening for the last 20 minutes, everybody is really excited about why data is important. And I'm sure, everybody understands the importance of data. For us, competency and capability is very important. And with the era that we are living in, new tools are coming in, new technologies are coming in. The way we are coding and working with data has also significantly changed. So it's very important that the associates are really trained around multiple platforms. What we are really doing is we are running very structured programs. We are really looking at a lot of these new gen tools and platforms. It's about looking at it both from a functional as well as a technical aspect of it. What we are doing is we are also really, this is again a very fresh conversation from as early as this morning with one of our on-site counterparts, is to really look at how can we build a structural way to cross-train and up-train our resource or upskill our resources, right, into the new gen data tools and technologies that are available. So we're trying to really create something like a data academy where we could run classic programs, where we could really enable our associates to maybe do like a self training, do like a small self assessment to really ascertain how have they gained a particular knowledge on a particular tool. And of course, really look at the willingness of them to dirty their hands. While I have always seen, all these new buzzwords really looks very exciting, right? And then as you delve into them, you get somewhere, lost in the value chain. So I would really urge everybody to make a very concise decision as to, what is the path that they would like to take and take it up seriously, learning never stops. Learning is always a very continuous process. Don't spend like a lifetime on a particular thing, but always reinvent yourself and see what have you learned. Is the foundation strong? And how can you go from here to the next level? And that's the exact philosophy that we are doing. It's not like running academy where we are saying, we'll do like a 3-year master's course and then now you're a data person, right? It's not that. How quickly and how agile you can be. Customers are really looking at an agile a partner who can work with them and provide services in a very agile manner. And that's what we would like to bring in as a culture back to our associates and our team as well.
Quickly wanted to understand from you that if some of our listeners want to just go and upgrade themselves or get some tips to really understand the trends and all that, which are those best places to go to? I mean, there is so much of clutter today online, but what are your select choices for people to go?
Yeah, I mean, see, there's a lot of information available on the internet, right? And I think with all our associates, everybody's smart enough to ask questions to Copilot or Chat GPT, and try to learn a lot of stuff. But I would say that there are again two ways to really look at it. There are many portals where you can get in a lot of tidbits around what's happening. What are the new models that are evolving, and then you have more, multiple forums which are there around data. I think LinkedIn itself has multiple forums. Now, the idea is to really keep yourself updated, and there you can also hear from industry leaders. I think AIM is a forum, I think, where there's a lot of data and data science leaders speak about the latest trends. Medium is actually another good forum. Now, these are all forums where you can keep yourself educated. I would also say that, or really urge that, take it to the next level. uh, have a look at portals like Kaggle, for example, where there are a lot of these competitions which get posted, right? While you learn new concepts, it's always good to get the kick out of the concept and going and participating in some of these competitions to see how well do you fare, because it's a nice ranking that you get at the end of the day, saying, what was the analysis that you performed, or what is the level of the model that you really wrote, and where do you stand in terms of the other. It's not the monetary value of it, it's just the kick value of it.
As business is increasingly implementing advanced analytics and AI driven models, how can business analytics effectively bridge the gap between data scientists and business stakeholders to ensure that data models are not only technically sound but also aligned with business objectives that users require? And are there any measurable outcomes?
The way I really look at it is, the business at the end of the day are really going to depend upon the insights that really comes out from various analytical models, right? And that could be traditional reporting dashboards, or it could really be from advanced maybe data science, AI/ML models, or even from Gen AI. The way the gap is really bridged is how the business users can have trust on the outcomes. When they get an insight from any of these models, how can they just say that, hey, you know what, the model has told me to add three new customers, or give new loans to three new customers. How do I really ascertain that? And that's when the governance of the model, the explainability of the model, and the trust on the model becomes very important. Now once that's established, and that's the kind of service that we at Maverick provide, and the entire data line as well, right? To ensure that, and bringing more trust to the business community, so that they can have more reliance on these models, or the outcomes of the models.
Srini, if there is a project that you are working on, is there any way that some of our listeners can come and be a part of that project just on the sides? Of course, not forgetting the work that they're already doing, but take out a little extra time and work with you on any of the projects. Anything that you would like to talk about that?
Data is here. Data is going to be here for the next many more years, as it's the foundational layer. We have seen the nice matrix from the Matrix movie as well, so we just see the bits and the bytes that we see there. uh, so that's the foundational, right? So data is going to be here for a long time, and anybody looking at a nice career into data, or those who are already in the nice career of data, I wish everybody all the best. We already have a huge list of accelerators and frameworks. As we speak, we are building 5 to 6 new accelerators and frameworks currently. Most welcome. The maximum number of helping hands that we can have is always welcomed. Thank you so much, Rini, and thank you, everybody, all the participants who are listening in to us live. Thank you for joining us and your encouragement. Srini, thank you for taking the time out to have this conversation with us. And we look forward to so many more conversations. So if you have any suggestions for us for any topics, or if you would like us to spotlight some other leader, please let us know and we will bring them for you. Thank you so much. Goodbye from all of us.